The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for taking the time today. My name is David Riggins, the Director of Business Development with Cloud9 Realtime. And the topic today, 5 ways private cloud servers will empower your business. What benefits a small business sees when moving to the cloud. The upside to ditching your old crusty on-premise server for a cloud environment. I have about 20 slides. There's also 3 polling questions that I'll go ahead and put up on your screen that'll seek to get input and keep this interactive. We use that information also so that we can create presentations moving forward that are more relevant to those who sit in on these presentations. If you have any questions, please input those on the GoToWebinar chat, and I'll do my best to answer those throughout the presentation and take a few minutes at the end to answer those that I missed in the chat. I'll also send out slides if you would like them. You can see my email there on the first slide, driggins@cloud9realtime.com. Just shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to get you a copy of the slides. So if you haven't heard of Cloud9, who are we? We're U.S.-based with headquarters in San Diego, California. We're licensed by Intuit as a commercial host in the U.S. and Canada. We're an accredited managed service provider, which means we create it's a soup to nuts solution that we create. It's a private virtual server we build for our clients. We also have a shared environment, a different environment, but soup to nuts, we build servers, install software, manage the software and the hardware for you, as well as all the infrastructure, and really work as your IT services department or as another tool to your IT services if they don't want to handle your infrastructure for certain applications that you want hosted in the cloud. We've got SOC 2 SSA between them, and if you're an East Coast client, we typically have you come to Austin to get your data from our data center. Anything west of there goes to San Diego. We're a Reader's Choice Award for the best ASP hosting provider by CPA Practice Advisor magazine. Several times, I think 5 years running now. Cedar Awesome App Award, we've won a few times. K2 Enterprise Award for top hosting company. So we've won a whole bunch of awards, and we've been building custom cloud solutions since about the year 2000, so for quite a long time now. All right, let's get right into the presentation. So we know the cloud is big. It's become massive in terms of the number of users and total dollar value. Some say well over 240 billion today and over 1.3 billion users. So it's growing at a rate that's incredible. It's clearly here to stay. It's not going away. And as the world population grows and some of the bigger population centers like China and India start using the cloud more, you're gonna see those numbers go up even higher. Because if you see there, the top countries population-wise aren't even listed. You see Japan at number 1, Australia, then U.S. at number 3, and the other countries you go down there. It's just incredible though how fast the cloud has grown and how pervasive the cloud is in our daily lives. The cloud is online banking, right? It's Netflix, it's Hulu, it's video on demand, and I like to talk about an on-demand world, and that's really how my family sees the cloud. We cut the cord and no longer subscribe to cable, so we choose our own programming, and it's delivered via the cloud to our TV and the other devices at home that we view content on. Like my kids, for example, they're both 10, I have twins, and they use iPads to view content whenever they want, wherever they want. So, we're not constrained like we used to be, and we only pay for what we want. And, the cloud can really deliver that sort of on-demand experience, not just from a content perspective, but also on a cost perspective. You only pay for what you want. And pay for what you consumed. So what makes up the cloud? I mean, what what is the infrastructure, the nuts and bolts behind this kind of generic term we call the cloud? Well, there's a whole bunch of things. So you've got traditional hardware infrastructure like firewalls and routers. You've got, of course, the software and the servers that host the software, and then you have the storage devices. All of these things work together to deliver the cloud. And all of this is in a redundant environment, right? So you've got, of course, failover redundant hardware devices here. So if a firewall goes down, there's another firewall there to power up and protect the network from whatever intrusion is identified, if there is one. If a server goes down, if a power supply goes down in one of the hardware devices, another one is there to still provide protection or host that application that your cloud is going to deliver to you. If one of the storage mechanisms goes down, there's redundant storage infrastructure there. So you have all these protections with the cloud, and that ultimately, that's probably the biggest value it has, is that that security, that failover, that piece, it gives you that peace of mind that your data, while it's up there in this generic cloud thing, it's truly being protected better than most folks can protect their data if it's local, right? If it's on a local server that could get damaged, could get destroyed. So specifically, though, how the cloud will empower your business, there's basically 5 things: cost savings, security, collaboration, mobility, and then differentiating your business, kind of setting your business apart from your competitors. These 5 drivers are really what small businesses can capitalize on if they can embrace the cloud. So I'll go into each of these individually right after our first poll, which I'm going to put up on your screen here right now. And the poll is how to use the cloud today. So hopefully those on the call here are using the cloud. If you're not, maybe you're here to learn more about how the cloud can help your small business, how your business can get maybe a competitive advantage by using the cloud, or more security, better backup procedures or something like that you can see with the cloud, and the cloud can provide to you. So thanks everyone for voting. I really appreciate that. It looks like we've got a mix of folks here on the call, and thanks again for voting. It looks like we have a mix, but it looks like all of the above. So entertainment, banking, business is being used by everyone. So thanks so much for voting. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll now and go on to cost savings and talk about cost savings and how it can help your small business. The average lifespan as a server is about 5 years. That means every 5 years you invest in new hardware. And there's a huge capital cost up front, a big cash flow outlay for that hardware. Cloud server doesn't have that huge upfront cost, so you've got predictable monthly, quarterly, yearly costs. There's no surprises, so you can plan better. No emergency trips to Fry's or to the hardware, to your hardware manufacturer, or to a CDW, whoever it is, to get new hardware. You don't have to call them up or whatever, because you don't need that hardware anymore necessarily. All you need are desktop computers that act really as dummy terminals to connect to the cloud, because the cloud is doing all the heavy lifting. Cloud server again has minimal upfront costs, and all maintenance and upgrades are performed by the vendor, by the cloud provider, like a Cloud9 Real-Time. So support is free. It's included. It's part of the price, part of that predictable monthly, quarterly, yearly costs that you have. There's not that surprise. It's included. If you look at cost savings over 5 years, so this is another way to look at it, you can really see it's really obvious. So the orange columns are the cost of an on-premise solution, right? The cost of hardware refresh by a new server, the hardware maintenance, the server operating system, database software, software maintenance costs, which are usually about 20% of the software backup, hardware, personnel costs to keep all this working as it should. So you can see that first year when you purchase that server, you have a lot more costs, close to $8,000 on average. And then as you go to the right over 5 years, your costs obviously go down because you're not buying a server until that 6th year, which would be off the screen on your right. But the costs are still a lot higher comparative to a cloud solution, which still has some decent costs, but relative to an on-premise solution, a hosted service, a cloud service is going to be much cheaper because you don't have that initial cash outlay for the solution. You're paying a bit more up front really for the transition costs, data migration and training, for example, but years 2 through 5 are going to be as predictable as the weather in San Diego. I mean, it's not going to, you're not going to get surprises whatsoever. So what businesses don't want to save money and have these predictable costs? Obviously, they do. So why aren't we doing more of it? We really should. We should be thinking about this. So let's spend more money and less, and less time on what you love. Or spend more time, I should say, on what you love and less on IT. You don't want to be investing your time in IT. You want to actually be investing it in your business, right? Growing your business, in your marketing, and your sales. So this is where the cloud can really help, cost savings. The next big driver is security. Clearly, security is a driver. We can make fun of it a bit here, but it's important. It's a fair question to ask any cloud provider about their security. How secure is the cloud versus having my data on a local server, on a local device? Am I going to see some benefits there? And you are. But it's a fair question to ask. You're comfortable with your data locally, but when it's quote unquote out there in the cloud, what does that mean? If Sony and the U.S. government can be breached, how safe is your data with Cloud9? And I think it's a fair question to ask. A study on disaster recovery, I should say, concluded that companies that didn't use the cloud had to rely on tape backup methods and complicated procedures to recover. These are slow, laborious things which cloud users simply don't use. So allowing David to once again outmaneuver Goliath, right? So back to the original question, how safe is my data? What I like to ask folks who pose the security question about how safe the cloud is, how safe is Cloud9's cloud, what would happen to your business if your on-premise server and on-premise backups were destroyed? And it can happen, right? God forbid. What I like to ask those folks is, with a cloud, with a cloud solution, that's not going to happen, right? You have your backups in different locations, right? And yeah, sure, you can have a disaster or one of those locations goes down, but they're geographically dispersed, so it's highly unlikely both are going to go down. And on top of that, you can create a local backup of your cloud backups. So there's multiple redundancies here, and you should really take advantage of, small businesses are taking advantage of these types of redundancies. So next slide. Collaboration is another driver. So a survey by Frost & Sullivan found that companies which invested in collaboration technology had a 400% return on investment. If a company doesn't use the cloud, workers have to send files back and forth over email, meaning one person can work on a file at a time, and the same document has many names and formats. Cloud computing keeps all the files in one central location, and everyone works off of one central copy. Employees can even chat to each other while they're making changes. This whole process makes collaboration stronger. And you could argue it increases efficiency and probably improves a company's bottom line by collaborating, by accessing files concurrently. And this you can do if you do have a multi-user license of your software. You can put it in the cloud, a desktop application like QuickBooks, for example. You can put it in the cloud as long as you have 2, 3, 4 user license. All of those people can access it, access their data at the same time. So let me stop right there and ask one more poll question. Biggest concerns about the cloud, so for business use. So why wouldn't you move to the cloud? And there's a number of reasons we've heard over the years, and typically it's been security, it's been speed, cost, whether it would even work for me, or all of the above. So please answer the question if you can. Answer the poll question there, and I'll share the voting. It looks like we're getting most of the votes in. We've got speed as well as cost. It looks like across the board, all of those are a bit concerned. It looks like security to a lesser extent. So speed and cost might be the biggest concern. So thanks so much again for voting. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll and move on to the next slide. So mobility, another key driver for small and medium businesses to really help your business. Mobility isn't growing away. It's growing at a tremendously fast pace. You probably heard or read about Apple posting record sales, over $18 billion in profits last quarter, and about the majority of those revenues, over half, were iPhone sales. They sold 75 million iPhones in the quarter. Clearly, mobility isn't going away. Providing a mobile solution to your clients can help them see the benefits of the cloud. The cloud powers mobility, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. So we've got a large percentage of our clients in the accounting industry, but and they have all these financial applications that we host for them in the cloud, and they give access to their clients in the cloud, and it saves them a lot of time working at the client site or driving back and forth with the client to the client site, the client coming to them. It really saves them a lot of time and gives them more flexibility in being able to work anywhere by using the cloud. One study even found that 42% of working adults who would give up some of their salary if they could telecommute, and on average they would take a 6% pay cut. 6% pay cut if they could work at home, which they could certainly do with a solution like Cloud9. They could get it at data and get a data and share data from anywhere and collaborate with their employees from anywhere, because the cloud gives them that mobility, the flexibility, and the slide before, the collaboration capability. Now, the cloud also makes you different. So, we don't want to be different for no particular reason. That doesn't really make sense, right? But the trend in manufacturing the last few years has been a made in the USA movement. If your product is US made, it's unique because almost everything was being made in China. And that's a differentiator, right? Or it was. The cloud will enable you to differentiate yourself from your competitors. It may allow you to gain that new client who wouldn't have looked at you otherwise, because you're possibly looked at as a thought leader. Maybe in some industries it could sound risky that you have cloud solutions, but generally a lot more folks are open to the idea of cloud technology today because they are using it in their personal lives. They've been using online banking applications and websites for years and years and years. And we have the same level of encryption and backup procedures as most of the financial institutions out there. But the cloud can really possibly differentiate you in different ways that you may not have thought about, and save you money and save you in efficiencies, or give you efficiencies in areas that possibly haven't been thought of before. on that note, I'm going to go ahead and put up the last poll. And this is really just, again, to get insight into who is listening in and watching our presentations, trying to understand what business you're in. We have companies, small, medium business companies across the board in all verticals. Again, I would say about 65% are in accounting, but again, across the board, construction, non-for-profit, retail, manufacturing is a really strong vertical for us too. And really any small business that's looking to get a little more flexibility is using our solution or a cloud solution like ours. And thanks again for voting. It looks like you got most of the votes in. Majority, it looks like, or half and half, looks like we've got accounting and others that don't fall under those categories. I'm curious to know what type of business you're in if you're not in those other categories. That's really interesting. If you have a second, if you could put that in the chat, what industry you're in, other small, medium business industry, I'd love to hear that because a number of people have put that as an option there. So I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. So I've talked a bit about Cloud9 solutions, but primarily focused on the content outside of Cloud9. But we do build custom virtual servers, so we can host any of the applications that you see there on the screen, as well as several hundred others. Really anything that's a desktop application that runs in a Windows environment we can host. And if you have a Macintosh, you can still access those applications, even on an iPad. So, or an iPhone, for that matter. I mean, I can access my virtual server, which we use for hosting some of our business applications and data, from anywhere. I've got an app called RD Client. It allows me to quickly access Excel files and Word files and PDFs on my phone while I'm traveling, and it's quite nice. So truly access anytime, anywhere. Again, any application truly can be hosted. Some aren't great fits in the cloud. Some don't run as well as others. So we do have a list of quote-unquote certified applications that we can talk to you about if you have questions. But you know, again, most are fine. Most applications are fine. You just need to make sure you've got a decent-sized internet pipe that can that can stream that data. We typically recommend about 3 megabit per second speed, and about half that for upload. So about 3 megabit per second download, and about half that for upload speed. If you're thinking about moving to the cloud, we've actually created a list of things to consider, and I'm going to just walk you through that real quickly. You want to make sure you have an understanding of your users, right? What type of users are there? Are they power users? What applications do they use? Do they plan to connect with your clients? If so, what do you want to share with your clients? What type of applications do you want to share with your clients, if at all? Again, understand that the type of applications. Are they desktop applications? Are there software as a service applications? We can host any of them. Most cloud providers can as well. How much storage are you going to need? How much data do you plan to move to the cloud? We typically recommend you keep about 3 to 6 months of data in the cloud. The older data you may want to store locally because it's just cheaper to host data that way. As far as technology essentials go, you want to do a speed test. You want to go to speedtest.net. That will allow you to confirm that your internet speed is fast enough. You may even want to have a redundant internet connection into your house or your small business in case it goes down. Because if you're working in the cloud and you can't get at your cloud data, that's a problem, right? So that is one of the risks with going to the cloud. So you want to look at that maybe as an option. Make sure your system requirements of your computers that are going to be accessing the cloud are sufficient. They don't need to be massive systems whatsoever because, again, you're just streaming data from the cloud, your applications, whatever they are, if it's QuickBooks, if it's Sage, if it's some other application. All the horsepower is on those cloud servers, right? And they're just sending the data to your local desktop computer. Make sure that your desktop and mobile devices are are up to speed on the proper operating system patches, so they can run as fast as they can. Make sure you understand the disaster recovery plan of your vendor. So, for example, what happens if one of the data centers goes down by your vendor? Hopefully they have another data center, right? Are they storing your backups at that other data center on site? Are they storing them at another location? Just understand what the disaster recovery plan is, and hopefully you have a diagram. You understand also what the backup plan. So disaster recovery and backups are really go hand in hand. But make sure you understand those, and it's clearly stated by the vendor. Make sure you're also with a vendor that has SOC 2 SSAE certified data centers. So make sure they're the highest status data centers that do go through very strict tests to make sure that all the infrastructure is sound, that they've got backup generators, that they've got fuel for the backup generators, so should they have a major outage, they can still power their infrastructure, your business, off those generators. Make sure that they've got that certification. Make sure if you're hosting QuickBooks that it's with an authorized QuickBooks commercial host. There are companies out there that host QuickBooks that aren't certified, and if you're using a non-certified host, you could be violating your QuickBooks license agreement, and you don't want to do that, because what can happen is Intuit can shut that company down, and you could lose your data. So just make sure you verify that. Make sure you understand the service level agreements with the vendors. How quickly tickets will be responded to. Understand the uptime service guarantee. Cloud9 guarantees 5 nines of uptime, which is 99.999. Make sure if you're looking for some sort of private label features, so if you're looking to maybe sell a solution like Cloud9 to your clients or prospects, that it's capable of customizing with your logo and maybe some of your other branding to make that look like your own, to make the portal or whatever look like your own. Make sure you understand the storage fees and the applications. Restriction of applications, like I said before, there are some apps that simply don't work well in the cloud environment, and we can give you a list, and we can talk about your particular application, whether it works well. Make sure you understand your level of access to the server. Make sure you understand the license fees. You do need licenses for any software that you host with a Cloud9. If you want to lease a software license, we can do that. We lease Microsoft licenses as well as QuickBooks licenses. If you want multiple monitor support, understand that. Is the vendor supporting 2, 3, 4, 10 monitors? Cloud9 does support multiple monitors, so you could have multiple screens of the same application up and running, or multiple applications running in the cloud, just like you would if you had that application running locally. Mobile device compatibility, we talked about that before. And make sure they're with an accredited, you're with an accredited managed service provider, so not just any old hosting company. Make sure it's accredited, because again, it's like a SOC 2 SSE certification. It means that it's a higher quality company. The infrastructure has been vetted. They've been around a while, and they're typically going to offer better service. So that's really it today, guys. I really appreciate your time, and for those of you that voted in the polling, thanks so much again. We're going to use the data for other presentations moving forward. And the only other thing I want to talk to you about was the fact that we have a user summit coming up in August. So if you have interest in coming out to San Diego and getting a chance to learn more about the cloud, we do have 4 different tracks: CFO in the box, technology in the cloud, firm fitness, which is a practice management breakout, and social media marketing. All of these tracks are designed for small, medium businesses of all types. So if you have interest, you can go to cloudsummit2015.com. Again, it's cloudfest2015.com. So we actually need to update this slide with CloudFest, so F-E-S-T. And it's a rock and roll theme. Should be a lot of fun, and we should see close to 300 attendees there. There's already a lot of blue chip vendors that have already said they're going to come. Last year, we of course had Intuit there. We had, all the big companies you would expect at an event like this. So if you have interest, again, let us know. If you need the slides, go ahead and email me at driggins@cloud9realtime.com. And thanks so much again, and have a great day.